Hi, I'm Daz, and on the bench today is a Concert Boy automatic 210 from the early 70s, I guess. It's not in the best of condition. For a start, the tuning is completely seized. It does have all its knobs, the looks of it, so that's something. I know the treble control is broken and it falls off quite easily, so I don't know if there's anything to do about that. It does appear to have its full telescopic aerial. Just looking around the back, I am missing a clip. I am also missing the, I can get the back off, I'm missing the mains power supply as well. It's not present. Is that a car aerial socket, and then I believe there's some more sockets here. It's got DIN, power socket, a mains battery switch and full complement of aerials and an earphone. So I'm not sure whether I want to do this one up or not, but I think it's in reasonable enough condition I could have a go. Obviously there's going to be a problem with the tuning scale, so that's probably going to make me use some interesting non-YouTube acceptable language, I guess. But there we go, let's have a look inside. Okay, so I'm inside it. First stupidness was to forget to take the screw out of the aerial. Why wouldn't the lid come off? That was why. I've got to undo the aerial. So nice big speaker in there. Looks like you undo these screws here and the whole thing comes out. Although I've got no tuning control, I can just see if anything happens. I just bung 9 volts on it. It's drawn about 20 milliamps. Yes, so we've got some reception there, the sounds of it. Meter works as well. Good. Okay, well that's a good start if the machine's actually working. It looks like it's slipping on this wheel here, which goes to the main tuning control, so just have to work out why it's stuck. It could be something wrong with the tuning cap or something. Well, here we are inside. It looks like someone's been joining some wires. I don't know what that's about. So I think that's something to do with the main side of it. So someone's joined a connector on. This is mostly silicon, but with a germanium output stage, and it's got quite large transistors there, AC188. Can't remember what its complement is. Let's have a look at the circuit diagram. That's about all I've got. 187188, so it's going to be capable of a couple of watts, I guess. 8 ohm speaker. Looks like it's got a temperature sensor on it. Looks like it's got all original parts in it, capacitors, etc. Interesting large inductor there. Oh look, tantiums, that's interesting. And these presets, capacitor presets seem to be so much of this time. See, there's a lamp here. Looks like the tuning dial up. The cord is intact, so hopefully this is focusing. Be annoying if it wasn't. Right, yeah, it's just turning, nothing's moving here at all. Ooh, my goodness, no, that's not good news, is it? Ooh. Oh no, that is firmly stuck, and oh, it's accessible behind the tuning scale. So I wonder what's made that stick. Maybe stuck grease or something. So I assume that's, I wonder if that's the FM tuner, quite possibly. Well, there's the tuning cap. Grease doesn't feel that thick. Looks like it's got FM on these 2 smaller veins here. Just have to give it a clean and just see if I can get it to shift, I guess. Well, there's 3 turns on here, and then each end goes to each end of a spring. I have tried putting quite a few things on here so far. IPA to start with, then a bit of penetrating oil, but it looks like the grease in here is seized solid. I cannot move it at all. Oh dear, not good. Here's the spring arrangement. You can see there's the cable at each end. Well, I've been very carefully putting some IPA down this little bit at the top here, carefully making sure it doesn't go everywhere, and some on the other side of the capacitor. Now it's suddenly freed up, so it's a bit of patience and waiting game, just waiting for it to work through, but it seems to be movable now. Whether the penetrating oil also helped, I don't know, but anyway, it's becoming freer, so I just need to figure out whether I do still need to completely disassemble it or not. I just still trying to mop up around this gear carefully. I wonder if they use the same grease as BSR used for their auto changes. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? Oh my goodness. Anyway, at least it's moving now. I'll just keep continuing to flush it out and see what happens when I leave it a few hours. The last thing you want is it re-seizing, isn't it? Well, this is an interesting thing. This is the fine-tune control. It looks like a piece of metal's being posed near this device here. I wonder if that's an inductor. So yeah, that's an interesting bit of mechanism. Yeah, for the fine-tuning. Interesting. Well, after finishing with the IPA, I used my pen to drip some oil down the shaft, and it's left it overnight, and it seems really good. No problem at all. It's nice and easy now. So that problem's fixed. Other concerns I have is the AFC switch is still stuck. I can't seem to release that. That seems to use a small, zoom in, not sure how far I can go. There's a small bit of metal and a little peg that moves, bit like the on-off switch. See, that works fine, but this one, if I can just get it in frame, just won't budge. I'm not really very keen disassembling this more. You've got the ferrite rod on the plastic part, and all the fine wires, a lot of them go to the switches, even the power switch. I think they're being used for ground, and yeah, I'd have to release that to get to the switch, because of course it's behind here, so I'll have to think about that one. It is sort of working now, but I've had to bend the metal spring in. It did free up, so perhaps the contact cleaner has worked its way through, but put a little bit of plastics compatible grease down this and it all feels so much better now. So that's good. Much better. Just been adjusting the tuning scale to put the calibration where it should be, because where it was stuck it's obviously moved a bit. I know there's marks down here. Now unfortunately at the moment I don't have full alignment details. I just have a circuit diagram and a stringing diagram, so I'm going to have to see if I can find some more details. Looking at it, it doesn't look like it needs aligning, to be honest. Particularly it looks it's sensitive, the scale is right, local oscillators look accurate, which is just as well because someone's waxed. These have all been waxed up in the factory. That capacitor's got 69 on it, so that's probably given us an idea that this is about 1970. That tantium might be cracked, so I might need to find a replacement, or is it just a hair? These electrolytics I guess are going to need changing, possibly. I don't know how reliable they are, these yellow types, but yeah, I might get away without really aligning it. That would be nice, because it is pretty complicated alignment. This set has a converter transistor but a separate local oscillator for AM, which is interesting. So it hasn't got an RF extra RF stage, but it has got a separate local oscillator. FM sounds okay. I can hear a little bit of distortion. I don't know if that's the amplifier, so it might be worth looking at the biasing once I've replaced the capacitors. Check the biasing's good. Seems to be, I think there's a point on the back here somewhere. I bet that's the point for setting the bias current, so that's good. Not many electrolytics in this set, thankfully. Right, let's have a look at this 470, which is the output coupling capacitor for the speaker. ESR's good, but the capacitance is very, very high. It could well be leakage, I guess. So I guess these are going to all need changing. They're date coded 1969, so we said this radio is 1970. Probably wouldn't be far out, so usual story, isn't it? These come unglued, that's come off, so bit gluey. It's best to glue them back, I guess, rather than leave them loose, because they tend to have a tendency to get lost, don't they? Well, the electrolytics are all done. I've even done the tantiums. Interesting, this point here does seem to be, there we go, there is a modification to the AGC. Some resistors have been lifted here and jumpered. Hard to see, but some reason. Just looking at the FM tuner section here. Oh, that comes off. Oh, there's a test point here somewhere. Perhaps it's there. Yeah, that looks like it, doesn't it? That looks like a test point if I've seen one. Have the window open while you're filming. No, not a good idea. Grinders, dogs. I've just had a quick trim of the discriminator and it is off, so the other thing is everything's waxed, but I just hope I can get the wax out. Yeah, it looks like it's going to need an alignment. I thought the FM sounded a little distorted, but there we go. I have alignment details, but they're quite complicated. They're there to tune each individual stage individually, but I'll have a think. Just looking at the S-curve on the Grundig. That's my 10.7 marker, which is a bit weird point, but there you go. So I've got 200 kilohertz either side. Just twig the discriminator. I'm now on a plus 100 minus kilohertz, so this is not easy. Found the discriminator output is this green wire here. You can see the AFC doing its job as well. As I vary the tone frequency, you can see the voltage change, so see the AFC having an effect, which is interesting. I just turned it on just to see what it did. So what that's doing is yeah, that voltage is applied to a diode on the local oscillator, so it pulls the local oscillator one way then the other in order to keep the frequency accurate and eliminate drifting. It's using the discriminator, the balance of the discriminator. So not the official way to align it really, coupling in the medium wave coil, but it's 460 kilohertz, so I've just had a little twig and a little bit of an improvement, not a lot, just monitoring it on the meter. Definitely not the official way to do it, but call me lazy. I must admit there is good alignment details for the RF side of things. I tell you what, this radio performs really well. If you consider that it's just got a converter, mixer transistor and a local oscillator, there's no RF stage effectively in front of that, and it's only got 2 IF stages. Actually a very sensitive radio. I'm quite impressed. I notice that the set points are marked on here for long wave and medium wave. There's little markers. So there's 560, there's 1450. I don't know if this is going to show up, it might not, but there's your set points for long wave as well. I guess that's about 165 or whatever it was. So yeah, that's quite impressive. So it is an impressive set so far. I am quite impressed. So I'm going to just check to see how far things are out. If they're aligned, I'm not going to touch them. Just doing some alignment, RF alignment, just doing the long wave. So you've got an oscillator coil and the ferrite rod. And the usual story is, as soon as I touch it, I get interference. So it's a case of course I could have used my tool. I should have done that in the first place, shouldn't I? I think that's about the best it's going to be. I found that these were loose. Well, that's all the shortwave and AM all dealt with. I unfortunately have broken the end off my tool. Oh dear. Never mind. It is very difficult to get at these. I've had to use the heat gun on some of the presets. They were really stuck with wax. The other thing I had to remember to do was centre the shortwave fine tuning. Make sure that was in the centre before I set up. Very sensitive, this radio, very sensitive. As I said before, got a little bit of improvement with the ferrite rod because I've seen that slipped as well. The medium wave one has as well, so not too bad at all, apart from the broken trimming tool. One other thing while I remember, there is a capacitor inside this module. There's a transistor in here as well, so it's the discriminator capacitor. I'm hoping it's a tantalum. So I don't fancy having to take this module off to replace it, but I'll leave that for now. I've got to do the FM alignment. That's going to be a bit easier because putting this in and out the case, none of these marks seem to correspond to anything down the side here. So I've just been popping it back in the case to get my little set points. It's relatively easy to align, I think. It's just time consuming. I also need to check the biasing and set that up. But yeah, I'm getting there gradually. Just time consuming and awkward to get at things, and all that wax is a complete pain. Well, FM wasn't too bad. I've already labelled what's the local oscillator coil and the antenna coil, and then the caps at the top end. So it's 88 for the coils, 106 megs for the capacitors, so it wasn't too bad at all. There was a little error on the local oscillator. There's a good half a meg out at least. So just looking at the loudspeaker, and the foam has deteriorated, so it's no longer going to seal, so I'll have to think of something to replace that with. I'm going to put this somewhere safe where soldering irons and screwdrivers cannot jump into it. Just an idea. I'm just trying some draft excluder to see if I get that to stick and stay in position, but I found it's very difficult, obviously being sticky, to cut its width down. Unfortunately this is the stuff I have because that's what I use with my 8-track cartridges. So let's see if that'll do the job. Just having a look at the output stage of the Grundig. Interesting, it's got complementary transistors, so what we've effectively got here is a pair of emitter followers, so no phase splitter needed, is it? So we've got a 560 ohm and we've got that 100 ohm thermistor that's bolted on. There's a diode and there's the bias control so that you can vary the amount of current. This obviously is going to have a fixed voltage, and then by varying the resistor you can vary the amount of bias current. That's what I set earlier, and there's the test point in the collector of that transistor. So I've been having a look at how the way it works. Is quite interesting. There's biasing this direction actually via the loudspeaker, so there is actually a small amount of DC on that loudspeaker. Interesting. 390, that's the driver transistor, which is a PMP. Notice interesting, there's a 100 ohm resistor in series with the base. I wonder if that's to prevent oscillation of some kind. I notice the centre point is connected to the emitter of this transistor, so that's your basic DC feedback. So if this point goes higher, this emitter will go higher and this transistor will start to turn off, which will start to turn this one off, and then it should drop back down again. And I suppose it works the same the other way. If this is too low, this emitter will get lower, this will increase current, that will increase current and pull it back that way. So it should balance at about half the supply rail, and I did measure 4.3 on a 9-volt supply. Interesting, the circuit diagram is based on 7.5 volts. I noticed this this preamp transistor has got bypass here to ground for this very large capacitor, so that must be to stop AC coming back into that emitter, and you're getting too much feedback then, so that's probably shunting it off. But there's a 12 ohm resistor here which must give some feedback back to the base of the transistor. So very interesting, yeah. So I don't think I've often seen a complementary transistor set. I think the radiators are so old I got, they didn't really have many NPN germanium transistors, but these are the only germanium transistors in the set. So but that's interesting how that one works. So there must be some error because you've got 100 ohm between these two bases, so there must be some error, so some distortion created there, but I guess a lot of it's taken out by the feedback. But very interesting circuit, I must say, and of course having a thermistor and a diode makes it a lot more stable when the battery voltage drops, and it does appear to be so. Very, very nice design. Just taken the link out, connected my meter so we can see the bias. I've got two numbers I've managed to find. One is 7.5 milliamp at 9 volts, and the other one is 7 milliamp at 7.5 volts, and that doesn't look anywhere like it. I've only got a bias of about, what's that, 3.4. So I know I need to leave it to warm up a little while, but it does seem unusually low. I'll turn it down to 7.5 volts. It doesn't change much. Yeah, and the needle reads just on the edge there, so that's probably about where that should read. Good grief. This is a bit dirty maybe. Yeah, it's sentiment. I'll have to clean the contacts first before I go anywhere. Done the pots, forgot to do the presets. Well, I've got a nice steady 7 milliamps there. Let's turn it up to 9 volts and see how well regulated it is with the diode. Yeah, it's gone up a little bit, but not a lot, has it? So that's not too bad. Regulates quite well. That's down to 6 volts, and it hasn't changed hugely, so I guess that's the advantage of having a diode in the system, just to help regulate things. Well, I just put the radio together, started tuning it, and the tuning cord bust. Oh well. Right, that's that recorded, and that wasn't easy, and there was a lot of very, very bad language. Haha. Of course, it's not the end of the story, is it?
Online against visually teaching, there's a whole different thing, you know that.
Great. Oh dear. Completely unsoldered. That looks like that could be quite a pain. Let's just see if we can. I think I'm on a bit of a long shot here, but oh dear. Yeah, that's definitely come off. I had to unsolder a load of pegs. I bet I'm going to end up realigning the FM stage now, but might be worth checking to see if there's anything else loose while I'm down here.
The species being increasingly threatened. horrible.
About to be on the...
Well, that's the Grundig Automatic for the People 210 from about 1970. Actually, it's a nice radio. It's a pain in the neck, but it's a nice radio. I quite like this one. Quite good bass, got a nice big speaker in it, nice output stage, nice powerful, couple of watts I reckon. 4 ohms into 9 watts. It can shift plus or minus 4 volts into the speaker, so that's pretty good. So it's a nice radio. I do like it. It's a bit battered, but you know, sometimes you pick things up cheap, and you know, I don't mind a few war scars. You know, it's nearly 50 years old. It's nearly as old as I am, and I've got a few scars. So there we go. Anyway, it's a very hot day today, as you can tell, because I've just got a vest on, but hopefully I haven't scared you too much. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon. Take care, like, subscribe and all that stuff, which I don't bother saying anyway. Anyway, bye.